Hey, how you doing? It's Seth, and back continuing this series on improving the wave breath for the Wim Hof Method. And all the previous videos in this series have had these kind of miniature Feldenkrais method processes to help you improve the wave breath. And I'm going to do more of that, but actually in this video, I just want to talk to you a little bit about a particular aspect of the wave breath, which I know was a bit confusing to me at the beginning and confuses a lot of people, and that is this part where you're thinking about breathing into your head. So again, Wim Hof, when he's leading his breathing exercise, is always saying breathe into the belly, breathe into the chest, and then breathe into the head. But most of us probably don't intuitively know what that means. And I think if you're someone who's been practicing Wim Hof for a long time, and just thinking about breathing into the head, you may have made your own discoveries. What I want to explain here and what I want to show in some of the upcoming videos may be similar to things that you've discovered already, but maybe there's something new here. So I hope it'll be helpful to you. All right, so in any case, let's just start with this simple question. Is it actually possible to breathe into your head? Well, I think that's debatable, and it just really depends what you mean by it. But breathing into the belly is not literally possible in so much as the air goes into your lungs, and your lungs are not in your belly. But of course, when you breathe in, the diaphragm at the floor of your rib cage, it flattens downwards. And so the expansion of the belly is part of making way for the diaphragm to go down. So to expand your belly does make it easier to draw a full breath. All right, but let's just say that you're breathing, you're doing the wave breath. Another way of thinking of it is that if you're breathing into the belly, the chest, and then the head, it's like you're filling from the bottom up. So if you imagine that you had a glass and you poured some water in it, you can just see how as the water spills in, it starts in the bottom and then it just rises up. So one image that you might use for breathing into the head is just to assume that if you have filled up the lungs completely and they're already full, but the air is still coming in, well, then it might fill up into the throat, it might fill into the back of the mouth, it might fill into the back of the nose. Potentially it fills all the way to the place where the air comes in, and then it can't fill anymore, right? But you might think of it that way. All right. But I think there's a number of things here, but what's really important is that if you're going to fill all the way up, the head itself also moves. And so to get a little understanding of that, let's just take a look really quickly at a clip. This is just a brief video of me doing my Wim Hof practice, and pay attention to what I'm doing with my head.
Okay, so here I am doing my breathing practice, and you can see how the seesaw is very much part of what I'm doing. Now, you might not be able to see it very clearly, but my mouth opens every time I push the belly out. That's when I'm exhaling, and then you see the movement go up into my chest, and the back of my neck is lengthening, the chin is being pulled back. That's the moment we're talking about when we say breathe into the head.
All right, so I mentioned the seesaw when I was doing the voiceover there along with that clip. If you haven't done the previous videos in the series, if you haven't looked at them, you might want to go back and check that out. The process that I've been showing so far from the Feldenkrais method is called seesaw breathing and relates to filling the belly, filling the chest, and working on different variations of how you do that with the breathing. And the next video I'm going to make will actually return to the seesaw with an emphasis on what the head is doing. But in any case, in the video, you could see that I'm sort of doing this kind of a thing. And what's worth pointing out about this, not that you have to be exact, but again, just so you have the image of it, is that the top of your head, you can look this up. It's called the Atlanto-Occipital Joint. The way your skull sits on the very top of your spine, on the highest vertebra, it slides so that the head, like if you're saying yes, you're doing something throughout the vertebra of your neck, but in terms of just the skull on top of that highest vertebra, it's not like a hinge that opens and closes. There's actually a little sliding forward and back like this. And it's actually possible to do something that is called occipital cervical flexion. That is where you're doing the movement right there between the skull and the top of your spine, and it's doesn't necessarily have to involve the other vertebra of the neck. Now, in that video, my neck is moving. It's not that I'm only doing the movement up at the top of the spine, but it's worth being able to see that, to sense it. Now, just a quick visual for you. I have my friend here, Bob the Skeleton, and I'm not going to do any very highly detailed anatomy stuff with you here, but just to notice one thing. If I open his mouth and you look inside, right in there, that is the top of your spine. The top of your spine is essentially right at the back of your mouth, or you can think of it as being between your ears. In any case, that's the basic region. Think between your ears, think the back of your mouth. Okay, so let me just give you a couple quick little things you can try to sort of get a sense of this idea of the sliding that's going on between the skull and the top of the spine. So if you take one hand and just sort of put it on the back of your neck, just the hand is open, and you can reach up, you'll feel the base of your skull there. Just keep it a little below the base of your skull. But the only thing you're going to do with this hand is just to try to determine that the movement you're about to make doesn't involve the neck, or involves the neck the least that you can do it. And then just place a finger or two on your chin. And then the movement, what you're going to try to do is pull your chin away from your fingers. But again, the hand in the back is helping you to see that you don't actually have to do some larger movement like this, but just a tiny little movement, okay? And so that might begin to help you see how the head can slightly slide back like that on top of, at the very top of your spine. Okay, another way to feel this is to take a finger or two and again find the place at the very base of your skull. Just feel in the back of your neck. You'll feel the bones there, and maybe go to a little off to one side of those bones, and then put a finger at the bridge of your nose here. All right, and now you can make a larger movement. Look up and look down, but see if you can feel that when you look up, your head is moving away from your hand in the back, and as you look down, you're kind of pushing back into your fingers that are at the base of your skull in the back. And likewise, with your finger that's on the bridge of your nose, it's like you're pushing a little into it and you're pulling a little away from it as you look up and you look down. So again, if you have a finger at the top of your nose and at the very top of your neck and back under the base of your skull, as you nod, you should be able to perceive that the head is actually sliding a little bit forward and back. Now, this is a different movement, but just to show you a little bit more about that joint, if you reach behind your ears and find the ridge of your skull here and come just under it on both sides, and then you tilt one ear towards one shoulder and you tilt the other, again, you should have a sense that your head is not only tilting, but there's this slight sideways movement where you're moving away from one of your fingers and moving towards the other one. Okay, so this might help you just in terms of imagery. And just last thing, also in the spirit of giving you some imagery, I'm going to link a couple of very short anatomy videos in the caption of this video, and they're going to show you two different things. One, you're going to see the bones of the skull, which if you've never actually looked at it, you might be amazed at how many different bones are in your skull. Of course, they're kind of fused together. There's those sutures holding them together, but there's spaces in between those bones. And in particular, there are the spaces in and around your nose and your mouth and your eyes, actually in several places in your face, which are the sinuses. And of course, you know what it's like to have blocked sinuses, but these two are little pockets where whether or not precisely we can imagine breathing into the head the way we breathe into our lungs, knowing about these little spaces in your skull might give you another thing to think about as you play with this idea of breathing into the head. Okay, so the next video is going to be a little more practical. I'll get back to giving you some movement processes that you can try out, but I hope this explanation was helpful. And if you're enjoying these videos, please do like, subscribe, comment, etc. You know the deal. I'd love to hear from you. I'm pretty new to Wim Hof practice myself, but I'm finding that my background in the Feldenkrais method has many interesting overlaps with Wim Hof, so that's why I'm making these videos, and certainly don't know everything about Wim Hof method. I'm not a Wim Hof instructor, but I think that hopefully there's something valuable in what I can share based on my other practice of the Feldenkrais method, and I'd love to exchange with you. So again, leave a comment, be in touch. All right, see you next time. Thanks.